Welcome to Sinful's Horror Stories. Today's video features true scary pizza delivery stories. Imagine you're the pizza delivery person. Sometimes it can be spooky going to a house late at night. Who knows who will answer the door? Who knows if you'll ever make it back to your car? Sit back, relax, stay sinful. Story number 1. Last year I was working at my local Papa John's Pizza when I received a call that at the time didn't seem that unusual. It was a man's voice. He said that he wanted a large pepperoni and sausage pizza with stuffed crust and a large bottle of Pepsi. I had to ask him to repeat the order 3 times because I couldn't really make out what he was saying, and he sounded like he had a sore throat or was far away from the phone or something like whispering. I typed in the address on my phone's SAT nav and went on my way to deliver the pizza. I arrived at the address the man had given me, and I knocked on the door. A man in his 30s answered the door. I said, "Large pepperoni and sausage pizza with stuffed crust, right?" The man looked at me confused and said, "I didn't order a pizza. You must have the wrong house." I then took out my phone and read back the address I was given. The man then said, "Yeah, that's my address, but I didn't order any pizza." At this point I was thinking it probably was one of his kids or something who rang up as a prank. That happens all the time. I even mentioned that to the man, saying maybe his kids ordered something. He told me he lived alone, and in fact just got back from work less than 5 minutes ago. I was really confused, but I said to him, "I'm sorry I bothered you," and returned to my car. I started my car and sat there for a second trying to figure out what was really going on. I then took a look at the man's house and saw some weird-looking guy staring at me through a window of an upstairs bedroom. I quickly left the car and ran up to the house and banged on the door. The man answered. I quickly told him there was someone in his house upstairs. He and myself ran up the stairs to try and find whoever was in the house. The upstairs rooms were empty, and so was the rest of the home for that matter. The man called the police and they said they were on their way. As we were waiting, I asked the guy if anyone he knew might sneak in or anything like that. He told me no, in fact. He said his family was on the other side of the country, and he's the only one that lives in the house, because it's where his work is stationed. I pieced together that whoever the man was made the order. It doesn't make sense and it creeps me out. What scares me the most was the man, from what I know, was never found. For all I know, he could still be in that house. Story number 2. I remember a scary encounter I had when I worked for Domino's. I was 18 years old at the time. I mainly delivered pizzas in the evenings and night. It was around 9 p.m. on a Friday night, and I was on my way to a house in a somewhat rural area. The order was 2 large Texas barbecued pizzas. I arrived at the house, and as I was walking up the path towards the front door, I saw someone watching me through the blinds of the window. I thought that was a bit awkward, but whatever. I knocked on the door, and for some reason no one answered. I was really confused. Whoever that person was at the window just saw me go to the door. Eventually the door opened, but there was no one there. I looked inside the dimly lit house and said, "Hello, pizza delivery." Then a voice spoke out to me that sounded like it was coming from upstairs. The voice said, "Oh, come in, I will be down in a minute." I have to say I couldn't really tell if the voice was a man or a woman's. I entered the house and waited by the door. The voice spoke out again. "Just put the pizzas on the counter in the kitchen." The kitchen was at the end of a dark hall. As I was walking, the front door closed behind me. I turned around to see no one there. I also walked past whatever room it was that I was being watched from to see no one there. I got to the kitchen and put the pizzas down. The house was creepy, like I said. It was poorly lit and just so silent. No TV, No radio. Nothing. Just an eerie, dead silence. I stood there in the kitchen nervously waiting for the owner to come down and give me the money. A few minutes go by and I'm just thinking, hurry up, I want to get out of this creepy house. Just as I thought that I heard a noise coming from one of the downstairs rooms. I said in a nervous voice, "Hello?" But no answer. This scared me even more at this point. I then walked down the hall to take a look inside the room where the noise had come from. There was someone sat in a chair facing the wall. It was an old woman. She was just staring blankly at the wall. I didn't say anything. I only stared at her, scared as hell. I then heard loud footsteps coming from the stairs. Only it was like someone was running up the stairs rather than coming down. This made me jump. I took another look at the old woman to find her staring at me. This time her expression was far from blank. She was looking right at me with an angry smile. This was more than enough for me to get the hell out of there. I quickly opened the front door and ran as fast as I could to my car. I started my car and took one last look at the house. I could see once again someone staring at me through the blinds. I drove as fast as I could back to my work. I don't know why, but I didn't tell anyone until now. That was the scariest thing I'd ever come across. And to this day, I still have no idea who or even what was going on in that house. Story number 3. My name is Michelle and I'm 20 years old. I work at a Pizza Hut, and last week I had a very strange experience. I answer the phones and deliver pizzas. It was around 6:30 Thursday night when I received a call from a man who had a very deep voice. He asked for one large spicy chicken pizza with extra peppers and one medium pepperoni pizza with extra cheese for his lady friend. He actually said that. I found it a little funny as well as unusual. I asked for the man's address and told him how much it was and how long it would take me to arrive. The next thing he said was, "Fine." I was expecting him to hang up the phone, but he didn't. I just listened for a second while he was on the line. I ended the phone call after a few awkward seconds. I got in my car, typed in the address in my GPS, and made my way to the man's house. I arrived to the house and knocked on the front door. Not even a second later, the door flung open, startling me. It was a large man in his mid-40s. He had a huge smile on his face. I said, "Hi, pizza delivery. Large spicy chicken and medium pepperoni." He replied, "Perfect," and I handed him the pizzas. As soon as I did this, he immediately walked off back into his house. I just thought he was going to put the pizzas down and come back with the money, but he didn't. A few minutes go by and I was wondering what he was doing. I said, "Sir." He replied saying, "In here, come in." "Do you have the money, sir?" I said. "Yeah, it's in here." I was getting a little bit fed up to this point, and I decided to just go inside, get the money, and then leave. Looking back now, I wish I hadn't. When I entered the man's house, I saw him sat at a dinner table with both pizza boxes open. He gestured for me to sit down opposite him. I said to him, No thanks," along with a nervous chuckle. He then said, "See that one? That one's for my lady friend." And then he pointed at me. That's what he meant on the phone. In his mind, I was his lady friend. This was getting very weird now. No, that's okay. I really should get back to work." He then said, "Come on, you got time for a bit of pizza?" He wasn't getting the clear message. I wasn't interested and just wanted to leave. Not to mention he was making me uncomfortable. I had enough and said, "Sir, if you don't give me the money, I will report this." He then slammed his fist hard on the table, not saying a word, just looking down with a very angry expression. I backed away slightly, unsure of what he was going to do next. He then said in a very different tone, "Now that you've ruined everything, you can leave now." While I had the chance, I turned around and quickly darted out of this man's house. I got in my car and drove away. I went back to work and told my boss about what had happened. He reported this to the police because he never paid for the money he owed. The next few days we received phone calls with no one on the other end. Just the sound of the line still active, and someone listening. I think it's pretty clear who the person was. Story number 4. This happened a few years back when I was 12 or 13 years old. I'm from the Philippines. It was a Sunday afternoon around 5 or 6 p.m., and I was at home with my dad. My mom had left to buy groceries about 30 minutes ago using our only car. As I was watching videos on YouTube, the doorbell suddenly rang. It rang quite a few times until I had enough of it. That's when I knew I had to open it. Knowing that my dad was probably sleeping in the other room, I reluctantly went downstairs to open the door. The thing is, I've dreaded opening the front door for people ever since my grandpa scolded me for opening the door to the mailman at his house. He lectured me about how dangerous it could be, like I could be kidnapped or something. With that thought, I climbed on the sofa, which was 3 feet from the front door, and pulled the curtains to see who was ringing the doorbell. Note that the window I looked through was surrounded by a tall fence 4 to 5 feet away, so I felt perfectly safe, and I found it convenient later on once I had talked to him. He had a dark cap on and a blue jumper. He looked very normal to me, but we weren't expecting anyone on a quiet Sunday. I asked him what his business was, and he replied that he was supposed to deliver a pizza to my address. Excited and a bit confused, thinking that my dad secretly ordered a pizza for us, I told him to wait for me to get my dad. I climbed upstairs to my parents' room and saw my dad sleeping. I woke him up and asked him if he had ordered the pizza. He replied with a daze that he didn't. Disappointed, I go back downstairs to break the news to the delivery guy, who probably got the wrong address. But when I got back to the window, he was gone. Since I was pretty young back then, I didn't think much of it until now. Today, I'm certain even my mom agrees to, when I told her a story a few years later, that I was nearly kidnapped. Number one reason, it was quiet outside and my bedroom window was open, but I didn't hear a motorcycle revving near the house, nor heard it when it left. 2, he left just like that, even though I specifically told him to wait. I didn't say that we didn't order a pizza. 3, I didn't see a logo of the pizza place he was working for. The strange thing was that we only had 2 that were near us, and they had a distinctive red color. 4, I didn't see a motorcycle near him, which was extremely odd. My mom's theory was that the guy probably thought I was alone at home, because our single car was gone. My dad rarely got out of the house since he was unemployed back then. What probably got him to leave was that I told him to wait for me to get my dad. If not for my grandpa scolding me, I would have answered the door and probably not be here writing this to you guys. So stay safe. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Please be sure to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content. Be sure to email me your true scary stories to have them featured in an upcoming video. Until we meet again, stay sinful.